Thank you, everybody, for attending tonight. We'll first take roll, please, clerk.
I can share this one.
We were just short a mic down here, so we were just discussing, sorry that we're short. Yes, I will send a text message right now. Okay, thank you.
Sorry.
Okay, you said we're ready for roll call, right?
Yes, please.
Okay. Commissioner Robbins,
Here.
Commissioner Rushton,
Present.
Commissioner Bailey,
Here.
Chairman Wessel,
Here.
Commissioner Sotis Little,
Here.
Commissioner Elgar,
Here.
Commissioner Lautner.
Present.
Thank you. And I don't believe we have any minutes tonight to approve.
Oh, you have a large piece of paper. Yes. Thank you for that, though.
Okay.
So are there anyone objects to, or would you?
Pardon? Commissioner Lautner?
Are there anyone objects to, or would you like to take these in one motion? So I would look to approve the minutes of the organizational session Tuesday, January 4th, 2022, executive session Wednesday, November 9th, 2022, executive session Tuesday, December 6th, 2022, regular session Tuesday, October 11th, 2022, and November 15th, 2022, Monday, January 31, 2022, Tuesday, April 19th, 2022, Wednesday, October 19th, 2022, Tuesday, January 4th, 2022, Friday, October 7th, 2022, October 11th, 2022, Monday, October 17th, 2022, November 15th, 2022, public hearing of November 15th, 2022, and a public hearing of November 15th, 2022.
Support.
Any discussion? All in support, say aye.
Aye.
Motion approved, 7-0. Kudos to the clerk's office for all of those minutes. Thank you. We now are at the part in our agenda where we approve the agenda. There are just a few changes. We're going to combine 3 and 15 and move it just before 10. And we'll explain that one later. But combine 3 and 15 and move it just before item 10. And then we'll delete item 11. And we will delete 16E and 16G. Any other changes, additions, deletions?
So we're moving under the consent agenda item 3 and combining it with 10 in the action item.
We're
Got it.
moving 3 down to action item and combine it with item 15. Okay, could I have a,
I have one more.
yes,
I was wondering if we could delete number 16F. Yes. Or
we have a motion to eliminate item 16F.
yes, and if I may speak to it just briefly. Well, at least. Is that just for, is this just, maybe I'm mistaken. Is it, because it says 90 day, is this just an update?
So, Deb Ellen sent us an email with the proposal in writing that she spoke to on Tuesday.
Okay, which is the Michigan leadership or something different?
It'd be with Michigan leadership.
And then that's what I would like to speak to. And that, so is that different than what we spoke about Tuesday? You asking for instead of 120, 90 days?
I think we need to either remove it from the agenda or keep it on the agenda, but I don't think we can discuss it. at this time.
Well, I was speaking to my motion, so, either way. Either way.
It's been moved to eliminate item 16F. Those in support of deleting that, say aye.
Aye.
Always same.
Aye.
Motion failed. Could I have a motion to approve the agenda?
I move to approve the agenda as presented and amended.
All those in support of that motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same. We have an agenda. Thank you very much. And thank you to the public for coming this evening. We are going to take public comment, and then we will recess for our public hearing on the budget. And then we'll take public comment on that. That's just for public comment. And we will reconvene and go on with the rest of our agenda. So at this point, is there any public comment? Yes, Sam?
Good evening, Commissioners. It's a sad moment for me because two of my good friends will be retiring from the board. So I just wanted to come and acknowledge their work. I hope to someday grow up to be as compassionate and wonderful with people as Patricia Sue's little. I've seen her under fire. She has such grace. Her ability to get people to work together is remarkable. What you've done for Leelanau County, just, we can't say enough about. The early childhood, the broadband, all of that is because of your ability to get people to work together. In these contentious times, that's quite remarkable. So whenever I'm bumbling through life, I try to think, what would Patricia be doing at this point? And I try to follow. And of course, I never live up to those expectations, but I want to thank you so much for your 8 years of service. You've been such a gift to our county. And Lois, although your time has been brief, what was amazing to me about you was how well prepared you came as a commissioner. You knew so much about housing and clean energy already. You could step into the job and get work done on day one. So I really want to thank you for your work. I know you'll continue to do that for our county as well. But I just wanted you guys to know how much you're appreciated in our county. Thank you so much.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Any other public comment?
Sorry. Sign I left home as we demand honest elections in our Leelanau County by replacing Dominion voting machines with paper ballots, so there'll be no fraud. No one here wants fraud. So that's what we want. And the way to do that, one person, one ballot, one vote, one day. And the DVD is, it's like a worldview DVD. It makes all the difference in the world. I mentioned it on my tcfamily.org website, the part about TC Family and the LGBTQ. It's mentioned in there. It's a $29 DVD, but he lets you copy them for free. And that's what I've done. It makes a difference between believing the world is like 6,000 years old, the flood was 4,500 years ago, thereabouts, or we have millions of years. And it makes all the difference in the world. And you can see that on there. If you don't have a DVD player, if you go to that website, creationministries.org, he's got like a little window for Vimeo. He shows 101 different ones, Grand Canyon, all sorts of ones. Gives strong evidence for a young Earth. The flyer that I have on this is yet to come. So the evolution is a false idea. He shows that clearly. Also, the LGBTQ movement, false foundation. I mentioned that in the flyer I've given out before. They were present. Up North Pride had a parade, had a float in the light parade where the littlest kids were there. Already, if you look at Barna or Rasmussen polls, anywhere from 20 to 40% of the youngest generation says they identify as LGBTQ. And now they're after even the smaller ones, the ones in the, when does it stop? False foundation movement, just like the voting has been a false foundation. And Dr. Douglas G. Frank, he's been all over the country, and that's what I'd like to play right now, some of his thoughts on the voting. Okay. Oh, yeah, I get the volume down. I'm sorry.
Codifying it in our election. Because what happens is, yes, we've normalized fraud in our election.
100%. Can I fix you? Moto G7.
In our elections. And the people actually running the elections are unskilled and unable to operate the elections. And they think they're good elections because they follow their checklists. When I meet with the clerk, I've repeated this pattern hundreds of times now across the country, as you might imagine. I sit down with the clerk and I tell them, they have election fraud in their county, and they're like, no, Dr. Frank, we can't have any fraud. I followed all the checklists perfectly. And I'm like, no, that's the problem. They don't understand that their system is set up to enable fraud. And if they're following the system perfectly, you've basically given away your elections. So, you have to understand what's happening, understand how it's happening to you, and then address it. And one of the objections you're going to hear is people say, oh, we can't hand count, it'd take us too long. And that's just silliness. Of course you can. All of Europe does it in a single day. They just have a single day elections. They have small precincts. Everybody votes in person with ID, and they count the votes that night and report the tally that night. What do? Months of work ahead of time to mail out ballots and get them back and sort them and put them through machines, spending tens of millions of dollars in counties, and then weeks afterwards trying to validate and certify. And then we argue about it for 2 years. Okay. If we had just had people show up in person, show an ID, vote on, you have chain of custody on every ballot, count the ballots by hand, which you can do. There's all kinds of ways to do that.
So I agree with him. He's looked at counties all over the nation. He's been to 45 states.
That concludes your time for public comment.
Not according to I
Thank
set
you.
it at 0.
Thank you, Bill.
We'll start when you get up to the table.
Okay, thank you.
Any other public comment?
Oh, yes. Got away with it last week because I didn't realize you'd moved the meeting.
Good evening, Mr. Knapp.
Charles Knapp, Cleveland Township. Main thing I want to say is I think you should drop this whole idea of moving the finance director off to a separate office. It's quite obvious that's not going to work. I was here when Jared Prince said, oh yeah, everything's going fine, everything's great. 2 weeks later, he quits. And his letter said the exact opposite of what he said when he sat at this table. That's the second time somebody's done that, taken the job and then quit. You're not going to find somebody to do it and keep it up. So I think we ought to just quit trying. Michelle's not going to train a replacement. I mean, she have to be out of her mind. So I think that's, you ought to just drop the whole idea. Other than that, I didn't know we were going to have this closed session, but we'll see what happens. Anyhow, I wanted to drop that about the finance director's job, splitting that up. I always did think that was gonna be trouble. It's turned out to be that way. It's okay, thanks.
Any other comments? Yes.
Keith Ashley, Leland Township. At the last meeting here, I made some comments having to do with the process of hiring the two new directors and the lack of training. And I used an analogy that was taken badly and was hurtful. And I made apologies to them, but I wanted you to know that I made those apologies, and I should have kept my mouth shut. So, and in that process, I also impugned the Republican members of the board as to the motives behind the hiring and the reorganization. It was based on the information that I had at the time. And since then, I've gotten more information that's more factual. And so to you board members, I apologize to you, and I understand better why the decision was made. I do wish it had been done differently, and I'm pretty certain that you all wish it had been done differently, and you're not in the situation you're in now trying to keep the job filled and get people to work. So that's my apology, and I think it might be helpful if within this building, some other apologies were made and get people to talk to each other and work together. So, thank you.
Thank you very much. Any other public comment?
Can I?
You still have time left in the comment?
Maybe more important. The prior speaker spoke to the gay matter, LBTG, and all those letters and whatnot. And I think if the speaker had a gay person in their family, may not be so easily swayed by all the crap that's going around, that the grooming and the likes of that. So I think a little bit of temperament there could go a long ways, that gay people are like the rest of us. And you wouldn't know most of them unless somebody told you that they were gay. And they don't choose to be gay. We don't choose to be white. We don't choose to be a lot of things. We are what we are. They are what they are. And they deserve fair consideration. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Any other public comment? This time, without objection, then we will recess this meeting and go into a public hearing. And at that time, I will open the public hearing and ask Mr. Prince to come forward.
And while he's coming up, I want to acknowledge his effort, but also Jen Zawicki, who's sitting there. Jen worked with Jared on the budget process this year. We started off the summer with treasurer's office and accounting staff. So took a little pause and we just want to thank Jen and Jared for working together the past couple of months to get to the point where we are. And actually, I thought the budget process went fairly smooth this year. So Jen, thank you for your efforts, and Jared. And I've asked Jared just to give a brief overview because you all have the budget book and you have spent hours in this room looking at the budget. So Jared was going to read page by page while I asked him not to.
He begged me.
So Jared, I'll just give a brief overview. I've asked Jen if she has any comments to add to it, and then we'll move to the public, if that's okay. Yes.
Okay. So, of course, you've had it for a couple weeks now, but I just wanted to highlight a few things for you. Projected revenues for the general fund next year are going to be $15,490,015. And of course, that means that the expenditures for the general fund are the same thing, $15,490,015. I know this does, well, pretty in line with what it was last year. To achieve those expenditures, though, we're looking at a required fund balance to be used of 1.535 million. Kind of sounds like a lot, but that's actually less than what it was last year. Last year, it was projected to be 1.7 million. So this is pretty in line with how it's been for at least the last 10 years. The only time that it's actually shown a deficit was in 2018 when you had some bigger projects going on. So I wouldn't expect to see that in the year 2023. Some of the larger things that are in the budget for next year are going to be $250,000 in MERS payments. That's additional to what you normally make. We did include an increase in the salaries across the board for everybody. There's $50,000 for a new county website. About $48,000 for the dispatch annual software maintenance. For the motor vehicle fund, we put in $216,155 for new vehicles for next year. Some of them were supposed to be coming in early, but of course that all got pushed back because everything's behind right now. Also for building safety, they have $70,000 in their budget for 2 new vehicles. About $55,000 for the Parks and Rec Commission request. $50,000 for our 470 Capital Projects Fund to start off the engineering study for the HVAC system. That's going to be definitely a multi-year project. So we have the $50,000 budgeted to kind of start that off next year. And then the last thing is $40,000 for a new phone system.
I didn't hear that last.
40,000 for a new phone system.
Okay.
Jen, before we open up to the public, do you have some comments to make?
No, I think it was successful and it worked really well. Jared and I picked up right off where the rest of the staff had started from, and we were able to conform and bring together. And I think you have a well-oiled package there to get you to 2023.
Thank you. Well, commissioners have reviewed this throughout the summer, so this is the public's opportunity to comment on this budget. So if anybody would like to come forward and make public comment, please do so. Mr. Murkowski.
Good evening. I have not been privy to this budget, so I don't know what it's all about. But generally, over the years, we've had a 1 or 2 page top line outline for the people with a copy for us to have during this public hearing, and that did not occur this year. And I think that should be resumed. That it's a good top line report, 2 pages, but inform the people what the top line items are. I know you all know what it's all about because you've been sleeping it perhaps for many hours at a time, but it'd be nice to have a top line report so that we could all see what the top line items are and how we stay in budget. And the thing that I have a question on is why we have to keep using, according to the announcement, we keep using the fund balance to make the budget work? Is it because we've been successful at beating the budget every year, so the fund balance really doesn't get tapped, or what? That kind of explanation would be helpful also. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other public comment?
Not a public comment, but I can respond to Mr. Murkowski because our treasurer always estimates revenue below, and they always come in about $1 million higher. And our departments have been very careful about spending allocations. So even though there's a $1.5 million deficit, as Jared pointed out, every year with the exception, I think 2018, we ended up in the black. And the year we did it is the year we put the new roof on the jail. We put the HVAC system in there, and we did phase 1 of this project, but every other year we've been in the black. So it's much easier to project lower revenue and then increase them and be within budget. So fortunately, at least I've been here That's the only year that we had to use fund balance. The rest of the year, we've actually added to fund balance. So hopefully that answers your question.
Thank you. One last call for public comment on the budget presentation. Thank you. The board will be talking about it during the later on the agenda. This time we'll move out of the public hearing and go back into our regular session. And we'll start with Commissioner comments. Any commissioner comments? Thank you. Thank you. At this time, then, we're down to communications, proclamations, and presentations, and we have Northern Lakes Community Mental Health here, and Brian, the interim CEO. So thank you, Brian. Brian Martinez. It's been you've heard it at this table, a kind of a challenging year for some board issues, but Northern Lakes Community Mental Health continues to do the really fine work with the folks. So thank you, Brian, for coming. And yes, and we do have in our packet the presentation that Brian gave us. Thank you.
Good evening. It's an honor to be here this evening. I'm Brian Martinez, interim CEO of Northern Lakes Community Mental Health. I was part of the oversight, the board asked NMRE for Northern Michigan Regional Entity. 70 days on the job, and it's been a good experience so far. I'd like to thank Leelanau County for the $139,700 of local monies that they have given to support Northern Lakes Community Mental Health for the past year. And today, as I present this report and the numbers, I'd like to give you an update on the Medicaid funds and your local matched hours that allow Leelanau County to provide services to your residents and add to your community and caring of your community. So Northern Lakes has a robust budget of $68 million. And out of that money, we provide services for the 6 counties within our region. And during our last year, we've served 5,316 people, majority of adults with mental illnesses within those 6 counties. Breakdown of Leelanau County has been an increase of 196 individuals served with severe mental illness. That's a 14% increase of services from 2020 to 2021. 26 children with serious emotional disturbances, which is an 18% increase of services being provided within the local community. One highlight within the whole Northern Lakes is that this year we have served more children across the 6 counties than any other year before. There's an increase in children's services, and there's 18% of increase within Leelanau County. 45 people were served with intellectual development disabilities, which we refer to as IDD. And within Leelanau County, the cost has increased that we have provided from Northern Lakes to $3.71 million, the 1% increase over the past year in services within the county being provided. With that, services to adult with mental illness has tallied $749,000, and that went directly to families and children and families, around $78,000 of cost that has went into direct care. People with children with IDD and SED has increased total in the county to $251,521 providing in services, with the average service being provided to the consumer of $9,672 a piece over the course of the year. That is out of the $3.71 million provided to the county through Northern Lakes. As you can see, if you go into the yearly report that I provided, we had $142,000 in transition funds, which was a 16% increase to Leelanau County. And out of those transition funds, Leelanau County residents, 61% of those were used for living support within the county. And that is direct inpatient psychiatric care account for 6% of that. And these services allow people to live locally within the community and keep them out of institutions. So I'm proud of what Leelanau County has contributed to Northern Lakes and what we were able to do to contribute to services for through Northern Lakes to Leelanau County. Couple things to highlight in the annual report. Northern Lakes has supported more than $140.7 million in total economic activities within the county. Direct impact delivering services was $77.2 million. Indirect impact economic activity between staff providers bringing in wages in the region means for paying for stuff such as state income tax, county taxes, and property taxes. The ripple effect has went down to the county and it made an indirect economic impact of $75.8 million for Leelanau County. Those are some good news stories for the county that Northern Lakes has been doing. A couple of things I'd like to highlight for Leelanau County. We are still between Leelanau and Grand Traverse County. We have successfully continued to obtain the grant through the Department of Health and Human Services for juvenile justice. This grant, I actually had been in correspondence with the judge of Grand Traverse County today, and they're asking for more money. So we're looking at creative ways to see if we can expand that grant to provide more service for Leelanau and Grand Traverse County for juvenile justice. And we've had very positive outcomes from that since we implemented that in June of 2020. Another thing I like to highlight, and this goes back to your board members' questions and one of the finance committees that Ty sits on. We have successfully negotiated 2 union contracts. Northern Lake has 3 union contracts, and it's created equity across the board for all of our workers within the force. And these contracts are 3 years long. The AFSCME contract was negotiated with a 4.5, 3.7, and 4.5%, 3.75%, and a 3% raises for parity and resident care aid. The Teamsters Union contract was also adjusted to reflect those 4.5, 3.75, and a 3% within the negotiations. And they also successfully negotiated another federal holiday within their contracts. This brings all of our contracts within Northern Lakes with equity across the board. So, subject to any of your questions?
Before we direct questions, then we ought to recognize Greg McMorrow, our representative from this board to the Northern Lakes Community Mental Health Board. And Greg is also serving on the search committee for CEO.
Yes.
Thanks for coming, Greg. Any questions for our presenter? Yes.
Yes.
How many federal holidays do they get? You said you added a federal holiday. How many do they get now total?
I think they get 13 with Juneteenth because of the way that federal holidays lie.
Okay.
It's 13 days. So it would be the way that they lie on the weekends, how they consider the holidays. So it'd be Christmas coming up, it's a holiday. They get the 23rd off, and then they get the day following Christmas off. So it's a 4-day weekend. That would be considered a holiday in there.
And that's
So,
according to their union contract, right?
yeah.
13 federal holidays.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So I believe so. That's correct. No, it's 13 days. So
Okay.
I'll get clarification on that.
Other questions? Good.
I would just like to thank all of Northern Lakes and your service, because the service you provide is so critical. When someone needs your help, it's so important that you're there. So thank you very much for what you're doing.
Thank you.
Brian, I have a question, and you may not be able to answer it, but we have a couple of different groups in the county that will continue to work, and I know they're working with Northern Lakes. Do we have gaps in mental health services in Leelanau County? Are there people that need service that aren't getting it?
I would say services have not stopped. They've actually increased within services over the past year for the county, especially in children, has increased to 28%. And I would say that the challenge is just like anybody in Northern Michigan, recruiting skilled people to fill the positions that we have vacant for therapists within the community. So, recruiting, retention is always a challenge in the organization.
Yes.
My comment on that would be, yes, we need more services in our county. Because for a lot of people, it's a long way to Hall Street.
Yeah.
They provide wonderful service. It's a long way from Northport. It's a long way from Empire. That is a problem we have. And yes, there are enough therapists. So what is the situation with hiring therapists?
There's every organization across the board is looking for qualified licensed professional counselors and MSWs right now. We currently looking at implementing some recruiting things, working with some of the staff, looking at ways that we can recruit people you can tell people it's a great organization to work for. As far as like salary and pay, it's really high for therapists within the state due to the area that we live in, but also Northern Michigan, cost of living is expensive, but it pays well. And the fringe benefits are very well, better than most organizations within Northern Michigan. So I think just figuring out ways to connect with people and recruit them to the organization, and then retain people within the organization so they don't leave for other jobs is one of my focuses since I've been there the last 70 days.
Are you fully staffed right now?
Currently, we're not fully staffed. We do have openings and access in some therapists and different departments.
Yes.
Thank you for coming this evening for presenting the information. Two questions and a comment, and it sounds like what we've been hearing too, that masters of social work are really difficult to find, and right now an expensive commodity right now to entice them into the workplace. My question relates to, I believe you said that there was quite an increase in the number of children needing services.
Yep.
And that's this year over last year, or this year over the last few years?
From this, that's when the last year, there was a 28% increase in services for Leelanau County and children.
Are there, I'm sure there are, but reasons for why this increases? Before you were hearing this due to the pandemic and the difficulties, is anything like that servicing? Were you seeing reasons for such an increase of this nature?
I don't have the answer for that right now. I could only speculate, but it's across every county within the 6 counties that children's services has increased. The only county that remained the same was Crawford County. And they didn't increase services and they didn't decrease services over the past year. They just were stable with services to children. So Wexford County had a big increase of services. I think that might be due to like them putting a therapist through Northern Lakes in their school system. And it's just, it varies county to county.
I join you, Commissioner Algar. Thank you for the work you do. So
Before you leave, could you give us a brief overview of the crisis center on Hall Street? That's a new program this year.
Yep.
I'm not sure we all know about that.
So we will open a crisis welcoming center November 15th. We actually staffed it locally for 23 hours operations. We shut down for an hour, 23-hour operations. And people from the community, anybody can come and walk in, and we can assess them, and then we can put them in the right direction of where they need to be for the assessment to get them supportive services within the community. Within the first quarter, we had 189 people walk in the first quarter. And with those, we were able to provide 154 people in the community with direct services. So it's a first step in building a crisis stabilization, which we're looking to move towards, and crisis residential down the road. So.
Any other questions? Brian, thank you very much for coming tonight.
Thank you. I would like to encourage you to fill out your questionnaire that we gave you. That goes into our annual report that we give to the board and also to the state. And I'd like to thank you as county commissioners for Leelanau County supporting community mental health, both with your board members that you provide to the board for oversight, but also your generous dollars that you give so we can give you a Medicaid match grant to provide services for your people of your community. So thank you. Appreciate your time.
Thank you for serving on the board. Okay, we now continue on our agenda, and we're down to the consent agenda. And I'd like to read a statement on the consent agenda just so that we know why we're doing it and where we're doing it. The purpose of the consent agenda is to expedite business by grouping non-controversial items together to be dealt with by one motion without discussion. Any commissioner may ask that any item on the consent agenda be removed and placed elsewhere on the agenda for full discussion. Such request will be automatically respected and will not need a second. And all of the items on the consent agenda were talked about in our last executive board meeting last week. Anybody want to remove anything from the consent agenda? Could I have a motion?
move to approve the consent agenda as presented with the one amendment.
Moved in second, all those in support say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same. Motion approved 7-0. Thank you. We're down to the first action item. Ms. Ellen, will you give us just a little bit of background on combining those two and why we're doing it?
Certainly. So, Mr. Chairman and Commissioners, at the executive committee meeting, there was item for fiscal year 2023, the recommendations to boards and commissions. And there was a motion at the end of the meeting, and there was one item that was omitted before we took a recess at our executive committee meeting that needed to be addressed. And so that is actually on your green sheet. We checked with legal counsel. We are able to make one motion for both of these items. And specifically, you see their motion, or the suggested motion is in regards to solid waste council makeup. It was made during the committee of the whole session on November 15th, 2022. A motion by Wessel to recommend to the Leelanau County Board of Commissioners to reverse the decision made on May 17th, 2022, and have only one commissioner serving on the solid waste council, and have the other seat revert to a member at large, and seconded by Commissioner Algar. The council recommendation following motion. So that is what is before you to now. Consideration.
I have a motion, please. Yes.
I would move that the Leelanau County Board of Commissioners rescind motion number 151-051-72022 and adopt the following appointment structure. 1, commissioner appointee. 2, ex officio non-voting appointees. 8, at-large citizen appointees.
Second,
I'll second that motion.
second, any discussion?
So this is something that the solid waste council is requesting.
No, this cleans up what we did wrong last time we met.
And so they, okay, so
Any other discussion? All those in support of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same. Motion passes, and now we've done it right.
Well, Mr. Chairman,
Yes,
do we now not want to make the motion then to appoint all our boards and commissions? So I would move to recommend, I would move that the Board of Commissioners approve the Committee of the Whole recommendations for various boards and commissions as presented.
second.
thank you. Yes, thank you very much.
You're welcome.
All those in support of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same. Motion approved. Got that, Jen?
Got it.
Okay, we're now down to item number 10, the Benzie Leelanau District Health Department. We'll let Chet and Deb introduce this, but I recognize that Dan is here from the health officer, and thank you for coming, Dan. And now it is not interim. You are now the health officer.
It's official, right? Yes, I am now an officer. Thank you.
Congratulations. You want to come up to the table and then you
Yeah,
want to take it up?
I'll keep it short because we literally have been talking about this for 13 months through the step. So last week you approved a proposal from our engineering architecture forum to develop the specific plans and documents to go out for bids to renovate the lower level of the this building, the area that is commonly known as the exercise room for space. Originally for the health department, but it could be used for other issues down the road. While not part of the formal presentation, the health department board, I believe, talked about it, and I met with their finance director. They are willing to make a financial contribution in the event that the board wishes to go forward with this. But at this point, that's not required because if this is approved, the proposal, it's to get it to the bid, to the point where bids can go out and get accepted. And at that point, the board can make a decision once they have the actual numbers, what the cost would be to say yes or no. And at that point, the health department would have to have a dialogue to see what type of partnership can be formed. But I think it's fair to say that the health department board was very interested in forming a partnership and proceeding with this project.
Yeah, yes, that's correct. Thank you.
Any questions for Chet? Before we do that, I'd recognize the health board chair, Dr. Conley is here. Thank you, Barb, for serving. Any questions for Chet on item 10A?
That on the question, I'd like to make a motion.
Please do.
I would move that the Leelanau County Board of Commissioners proceed with the design of architectural, mechanical engineering, electrical engineering, plumbing engineering, and structural engineering, and accept the proposal agreement bid with FAH Architecture PPLC, not to exceed $36,628.
Second that.
Seconded, is there any discussion?
Just last week, there was a question where the funds would come from. We put in the 2023 budget, 50,000 for engineering architectural fee. It's a recommendation of Jen, I, and Jared that in 2023, you adjust your budget to include this as part of that. Is it 740 fund, Jen?
470.
I mean, 470, I had it backwards, 475. But since the expenses will be in the 2023 budget, but since we had the budget book already done, we want to amend the budget books. So at any time next year, the board can make that adjustment. Is that your assessment too, Mr. Jared and Jeff? I'll make sure I said that correctly.
Yeah.
So we have a motion on the floor. Is there any discussion or any further questions? All those in support of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
Better do a roll call on that, Jen, if you will.
Thank you. Motion by Elguyer, Commissioner Elguyer.
Yes.
Commissioner Bailey.
Yes.
Commissioner Lautner.
No.
Commissioner Robbins.
Yes.
Commissioner Rushton. No. Commissioner Sotis Little.
Yes.
Chairman Wessel.
Yes.
Passes 5-2.
Thank you. Motion passes. We are now at the district sanitary code, and Dan, do you have an update from the health board and the status of Benzie County and any of that?
Yeah, so Benzie County met this morning and they passed the code unanimously at that board. And really, the only other thing that I guess I would update is we met here as a health board for a special meeting to clarify through policy just one of the aspects of Chapter 6 regarding the time of transfer evaluation last week. And this also just clarified and just kind of put into place and made it clear that this was a Board of Health policy that directed the health department to use discretion. And there is, factors in that policy that, basically determine that we're going to implement this in Leelanau County really the same way that we are in Benzie County, and just using enforcement discretion. I think the concern that was there was regarding family transfers, and really, the health department is not out to really, I guess, just use discretion in those family transfers. When those happen, there's all kinds of reasons. There is recordings at the Register of Deeds. We are not actively pursuing those, but we are enforcing Chapter 6, as it's written, as it's stated in that regard.
And that policy document was approved unanimously by the health department.
That is correct.
Yes.
So just to explain that, so what I heard, tell me if I'm wrong, was that if someone just adds another family member to a trust, that does not trigger an inspection. But if it passes from one generation to another.
Yeah, so this is a very, excuse me.
I'm sorry, I had to finish my sentence. That if it passes from one generation to another, it definitely does. Is that the gist?
Right, so, and this is a very complicated matter, but so trusts, when a trust exists, members can come and go in the trust as it stands. The trust is the entity that owns the property, and it doesn't transfer, is my understanding. After seeking legal counsel on this and talking to them about this, it's very clear. What the questions that arose around this had to do with if you were adding, let's say, children, heirs to a deed without a trust, just adding them to a deed. And the clarification that we wanted to make with this policy is that we're not, when that happens, when the parents are alive, that's not something that the health department is seeking out to do an evaluation at that point. Really, the evaluation would occur when that property does transfer at the death of the parents or the last parent, so to speak. So that's truly when the transfer happens, and not anywhere in between, because there's a whole lot of reasons that people do this. And honestly, the policy that we have is we're not going to the Register of Deeds. We're not looking at the transfer rolls. We don't have the staff to do that. That's not something that we want to do. If someone seeks us out and asks us when they should engage the evaluation process, we will walk them through that. And that's basically, how we handle that. And it's really discretionary. We use discretion enforcement all the time. And that is, it lines up with really how we treat anything within our code.
Thank you.
Yes.
Yes.
And how would it be handled under a labor deed?
That's basically what I was talking about when children are added to a deed. That's essentially a ladybird deed.
Okay.
Or enhanced, I think another name for it is a enhanced life estate.
Two separate things.
Two separate things, okay.
Before we have further discussion, could I get a motion on the floor?
I would like to make that motion.
Okay.
I make the motion that the Leelanau County Board of Commissioners accept the Benzie Leelanau District Health Department District Sanitary Code.
Support.
Now it's been moved and seconded. Questions? Yes, Commissioner Lautner?
Yes, thank you. So you will use this discretion down around the lakes for perhaps homes within 200 feet of a lake. Grandma owns the cottage. She put somebody else's name on it. Lives another 20 years. You won't touch that cottage for 20 years. Is that correct?
What, so maybe I should read the policy? Just so you're clear.
You will use your discretion.
Right. Like I said, it doesn't matter if it's down, near the lake. I mean, I know this happens with cottages, it happens with farms, it happens with, multiple situations. Every family's different, right? The discretion is that when those things happen, when people are adding kids to deeds, we're not seeking that out. Okay, we're not looking for that. If we're going by the letter of the law, just like if you were driving 26 miles in a 25-mile-an-hour, speed zone, could police officers use discretion? Are they pulling people over for doing that? I think if they did that, they get a lot of complaints. So we are using discretion in the way that we enforce the code. We're not seeking those things out. It's not something that, technically, is that the point of when a transfer occurs? It's really unclear. It's not black and white. It's very gray. So we operate within gray areas all the time, and we have to use this discretion, on a daily basis. Whether I'm sorry.
Yes, so I understand where you're going with it, and I guess that concerns me greatly that we have a code you're going to use discretion on, because I think that while that could be very good in some instances, it's not going to solve the issue for others. So I think with your analogy, I guess we just don't pull over every car going down the road and punish those who aren't causing the situation a problem. So, but what this board has chosen to do, what this health board has chosen to put forward is a blanket ordinance, when it could have created an ordinance that would have really looked at our lakes and looked at homes within 200 or 500 feet of a lake and gone right around those lakes and made sure all those systems are up to date today. But instead, this ordinance is going after people who are not causing the problems. You have multiple homes in this county and in Benson County that are on suitable soils, and where soils filter and do what they're supposed to do, and without a chance of it ever reaching groundwater. So now what you're telling me is that discretion, you will have situations where people will just continue to add names on deeds around the lakes, and they could have extremely old systems, and they could even be owned by young people at this time. So it's not going to solve the problem, I think, that people are expecting it to solve. I think there also the paper didn't fully explain the whole purpose of, or the problem with this ordinance, and that is this problem, that it will be transferred, so you will be hitting farms when names are added, or then when someone does pass away, it's going to put an extra burden on, especially on the farmlands. You know, I had a commissioner say, well, not everybody lives on 100 acres anymore. Well, there's a lot of people who do, and they're nowhere near lakes or rivers. And yeah, this chooses to blanket them unless by any chance on a lucky day that there's discretion used in the health department says, oh, I guess we're gonna waive it for now. So I just think we could have done better. I've said that several times. We could have done better for Leelanau County. And this isn't it. So I know you personally are late to the game, but this is just unfortunate for a lot of people who are going to be punished unjustly in this whole thing.
Any other comment?
Well, I did.
Commissioner Robbins?
Sorry.
I gotta go back to, when did we do this, September? And I've still done my homework since then. And, again, I've talked to every, supervisor. Talked to a lot of citizens, not just in my district, because if you really look at my district, we don't really have the problem there because we have sewer. We don't, you know, but you gotta look at the rest of the county, and I disagree with you, Commissioner Lautner. You just can't look at lakes. You gotta look at the layout of Leelanau County. You look at Elmwood Township, you can't go 1,000 feet without running into a stream. So where do you draw the line? Do you draw it on lakes, streams? How do you do that in your township or your district, Solon? You can go out to Glen Arbor. You go just about every township, and you're gonna find streams plus the lakes. Again, like I said several months ago, this should not be a political issue. This is a health issue, and I'm going to support it again today.
Thank you. Did you raise your hand?
I sort of
Oh,
started
okay,
there.
Commissioner Bailey, and then Commissioner.
So as I mentioned in the last meeting, I think it's a good ordinance, and I think it's a great start. And we should look at the data in 2 to 3 years and see what we need to do in addition. Because I think there probably are other things, like lakeshore areas that we should look at more carefully. But I think that data will lead us that way.
Thank you. Commissioner Rushton.
Yes, I think Commissioner Robbins brought up a good question. Where do you draw the line? When you go back to the state of Michigan empowered our townships to create ordinances. However, this board contacted the health department and said, we would like to have a septic ordinance. You write it, we'll approve it. That's not the way our government is supposed to work. So with this little bypass that this board did, it circumvents the rights of all of our citizens, you, me, and everybody else. And it's a wrong approach. I can't appreciate what you're doing. If you want to look at each individual piece of property out there, that townships are suited to do just exactly that. They can mold their ordinance according to the geography of their landscape, where it's needed and where it's not. So this blanket septic ordinance is a disservice to all those citizens in this county who are responsible septic maintainers.
And
I won't vote for it. It's an abuse of power.
I don't want to cut off conversation, but we've had a lot of conversations. So let's, if we have anything new to say, I'll recognize you. Otherwise, it's probably time for a vote.
Can I just answer your question, or I guess respond to your statement just really quick? I appreciate what you're saying about townships and their powers to pass ordinances, and they certainly can. And if they want to be more strict, they can, but the public health code gives health departments clear authority to
Well, I
have
understand that.
environmental health
I
regulations.
understand
Yeah.
that, but the point
Okay.
that I'm making is you and your department did not approach us. This board approached you.
Yeah, I mean, I know there's a long history
Yeah,
here
thank
with
you.
this. So,
Thank you.
yeah.
Before we vote, my colleague next to me is raising her hand and I will recognize her.
I will be brief, but I want to thank all of the people over the last 30 years who have worked on this. We are taking a step to protect our public health. All of our public health, our drinking water. I thank you for all the support of our constituents who have called, who have come. And thank you for your work. And this is a step forward. The only state in the nation without a septic code, Leelanau County is taking this step to protect its citizens. Thank you.
Okay, I think we're ready to vote and I think it ought to be a roll call vote. Jen?
Commissioner Bailey,
Yes.
Commissioner Lautner,
No.
Commissioner Robbins,
Yes.
Commissioner Rushton,
Absolutely not.
Commissioner Sotis Little,
Yes.
Chairman Wessel,
Absolutely, yes.
Commissioner Alguier.
Absolutely, yes.
Passes 5-2.
You started a thing.
Stop copying me.
Thank you.
Reminds me of.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for coming.
Thank you.
Those kids in school, stop copying.
Yeah.
We're back on our agenda. We now are at item number 12 on the agenda. And Chet, you want to introduce that?
Yeah, and once again, it's an issue we've talked about for, I think, 18 years, or I'm sorry, 18 months. Seems like 18 years. We did talk about 2018, so I guess that part is correct. But just to clarify, I drafted a motion for you that's passed out. It just gives more specifics. I know there's some little debate last week, so I won't summarize the whole thing, but the current senior services director salary range in the 2022 pay scale is, I'll just round up 56,000 to 68,000. The proposal that came from the human resources director and I, because the committee was formed by Mr. Wessel, I guess a task force to look at it. We looked at it and our recommendation is 64,600 to 71,605 for 2022. But this is the end of the year. This is a 23 budget here. So in the 23 budget, the current salary for the senior service director would range from 57,800 to 73. Under the proposal, it would be 66,700 to 73,900. And that is the 2023 pay scale. And that puts it on par with the human resource director, which we try to do, and higher than our chief deputies and assistant 911 dispatchers. So you have a proposed motion there if you wish to do that, or any amount that you wish to do.
Looking for a motion? I would offer a motion then if I may. I move that effective January 1, 2023, the Leelanau County Board of Commissioners approve increasing the senior services director starting salary on the non-union pay scale to $66,718.98.
Second.
Yes, I'd like to make an amendment to that motion. And I would like to amend it to be the 2-year step and on the building safety, building official steps scale, and that would be $74,278.61 plus added to that the appropriate increases of the 2%, 3%. which passed.
Would it help if you look at the 2023 pay scale? That way it has the.
Yeah.
On there. In your, you have the 2022 pay scale and the
Yeah.
2023.
Oh, didn't see that, thank you.
So that just would be helpful.
Yes, much easier. So that would be 76,692,66, and I'd like to speak to that.
First,
After
we
there's
need-
a second.
first
I
we
would
need a
second.
You may speak to your amendment.
Okay, yeah. I raised the same thing last week. And it is dealing with the position, not the persons. And if we look at where this falls in terms of classification, whether it's under the Human Resources Director or the Building Official Director. And if you look at what the human, what the Senior Services Director does in terms of responsibility, and you compare it to the Human Resource Director, what we have is, and as the minutes from last week, I won't go through all of this again because I did it before, but the Human Resources Director does not, does not supervise anyone. It's a single position. The Senior Services Director does supervise staff. The Human Resources Director is fully funded in terms of their operational funds, not responsible for raising any funds to carry out the responsibilities. The Senior Services Director has to raise their own funds in order to have it's the millage, that's what funds the job, so they have to put the millage through. So now let's switch and look at the Building Official Director. The Building Official Director supervises staff, just like the Senior Services Director. The Building Official Director has to raise their own operating funds, just like the Senior Services Director. The Building Official Director has to adhere to a set of laws, which are the building codes that they are overseeing implementation of. Just like the Senior Services Director, who is implementing their jobs under the Older Americans Act and all of the related legislation that is associated with that. The Senior Services Director, in addition, has to do oversight and supervision of contractual staff, which the Building Official Director does not. The Senior Services Director also writes grants and brings in donations and special grants in order to fund special projects in her department. That is something that, again, the Building Official Director doesn't do. So I don't understand why we're using the Human Resources Director as the benchmark for the Senior Services Director when there are no points of commonality that would put it there from a classification standpoint. And in addition, we heard our speaker here tonight, Community Mental Health, indicate that these social worker positions are in high demand. They can't find them. And they demand high pay. When you do get one, if you're fortunate enough. Now, the Human Resources Director, the degree is a bachelor's of any field. The Senior Services Director is a master's preferred, and the reason that is so that there's an understanding of the population that they're serving and working with. And all you have to do is look at the state of the program when the current Senior Services Director took it over. And where it is today, it's highly regarded. And part of that is the way in which she does her job and the understanding she brings to the community that she's serving. So the building official currently has a license as well. So I think that the comparison is there, and I'm not suggesting going all the way to the top of the building officials. I'm not suggesting a compromise. Let's pick the 2-year mark. It would be $76,692.66.
Other discussion?
I just have a quick question. I just wanted to clarify, you're thinking the same thing.
We're thinking the same thing.
Yeah.
yes.
So originally, Chairman Wessels is that the effective date of January 1, 2023 to approve increasing the base salary. And then you asked to amend it. So, after that, do you want the top of the wage to be 76 and then they work down? Or do you want it to start at 76?
Yeah.
Am I right?
Yeah, because we're thinking exactly the
So,
same.
so which way do you want the 76? to
We're
be?
talking about what should be the starting, if we take the people out of it.
Right.
We
What's the-
have
what do you
a
want?
5-step scale here.
So you want it to start at 76 and then increase to up over 80 some?
Well,
you're raising a good question.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, what we're talking about is what is the starting pay for that
What would be the
position?
starting pay for that position, 73,426?
Yes.
Okay, so I'm looking at the 2023 and I'm just making sure I'm going to amend that you want the starting salary to be 73,426.21.
Right, I misstated. Thank
That's
you very
okay,
much.
that's okay.
Because we're not talking about anybody in this
Right,
position, we're talking
right.
about the
We're talking about
position,
that,
so.
Sorry. Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, no
So,
problem.
unlike last week, Jen and I are on the same page on this, so I did raise my little voice a little bit with Jen, so I apologize to Jen Tuesday night, so. We're on the same page here this time.
Thank you.
And thank goodness for me.
Commissioner Rabbit.
Okay. I apologize. I haven't seen the job description and it's been my understanding the last year and a half here. That's why I've been pushing for HR. Some of our job descriptions that I've been seeing are like written in 2002, 20 years ago. So does it say in a job description about a master's degree? I don't even think it says preferred, does it?
It does.
Only preferred.
Okay, well then, I feel we need to give Darcy a chance. She's been doing a hell of a job the last 6 months or whatever she's been. She's getting there. It's gonna take time. I think these job descriptions needs to be rewritten. I mean, you talk about a master's degree. I mean, we got a dog catcher with a master's degree. Is he gonna be in here next week wanting a raise because he has a master's degree? Where does it end?
Yeah.
You know, I mean, Commissioner Wessel said it very perfectly a year ago. When we gave the assistant prosecutor a raise, we're opening a can of worms that we have every month. There's another employee in here who wants a $10,000 a year raise.
I think what we're talking about here is equity of responsibility and pay. To state that a job with no one reporting, I won't repeat everything that Patricia said, or Commissioner Soto said, but her points are important. We are equating a position with no reportees to a position with a lot of responsibility, a lot of reportees, a lot of financial obligations, and I'd like to add a position, a program that our constituents ask for. And they expect us to hire the best possible person to administer the program they want and the money they have allocated. And for us to do less than that is irresponsible. So I wholly support Commissioner Soto's little statement and position and motion.
Once again, I don't want to cut off discussion. We had a lot of discussion last week, so Commissioner Rushton.
Yeah, you know, I don't know why we would not consider postponing this whole thing, giving our HR director an opportunity to look through our job descriptions, make those adjustments, bring it to the board at that time, and make wage adjustments. And if that board wants to retroact those wage increases back to the first of the year, then they would have that option. But I think there's a couple good points that have been made as far as, you know, we talk about a master's over here and the dog catcher over here has a master's. And I made the analogy historically that when you hire a dishwasher and an engineer takes the position, you pay them dishwasher fee, not an engineer's fee. And I think that's kind of the point that's happened with senior services. That department is growing and it does need to be looked at. However, we keep piecemealing this here and there and here and there. And it raises feathers in other departments, which I think is going to be an ongoing problem. So I think this should be postponed for the moment and a little bit more homework done, especially the giving the human resource director an opportunity to look at the job descriptions and rewrite them if necessary.
Commissioner Lautner?
I'm just going to point out that this is a recommendation from our HR director. And I think it's more than generous, honestly.
Are you referring to the original motion on the floor?
I am.
We have an amendment on the floor, and we have a motion on the floor. Could you reread the amendment, please?
Absolutely. Motion by Sotos Little to amend that effective January 1, 2023, the Leelanau County Board of Commissioners approve increasing the senior services director starting salary on the non-union pay scale to $73,426.21, seconded by Elgire.
Commissioner Soto?
I will prolong this, except to simply say, we're talking about the position, we're not talking about the person. And we're talking about, I asked for a classification study way back in September or October, and it was determined that it wasn't the way that this board wanted to go. So if you're going to look at adjusting the position in terms of appropriate classification, you have to look at the requirements of that particular position. And there's no way that you can look at human resources director and senior services and feel that the job requirements, not the people, the job requirements fall the same. They're not. They're very, very different. It falls more in line with building official or planning. Definitely, the requirements of that position are different.
Well, first, we'll vote on the amendment. Could we have a roll call vote on the amendment?
Amendment by Sotos Little. Commissioner Sotos Little,
Yes.
Chairman Wessel,
No.
Commissioner Elgire,
Yes.
Commissioner Bailey,
Yes.
Commissioner Lautner,
Yeah.
Commissioner Robbins,
No.
Commissioner Rushing.
No.
Fails.
Now we have a motion on the floor, and we had a recommendation from Commissioner Rustin that we delay. I would not support delaying. I'm going to support the motion because I think it's time that we make this adjustment. So, any other comments on the amendment before we take a vote? Okay, would you do a roll call vote, please, on the amendment? Or on the motion?
Repeat the amount
Absolutely.
on the main motion.
The amount is $66,718.98.
Thank you.
Is that correct, Chet?
Yes.
Okay. Roll call, right?
Yes.
Chairman Wessel,
Yes.
Commissioner Elgire. Yes. Commissioner Bailey,
Yes.
Commissioner Lautner,
No.
no?
No.
Commissioner Robbins,
Yes.
Commissioner Rushing,
Yes.
Commissioner Sotos Little.
Yes.
6-1.
She passes. Thank you.
She threw me for a loop.
That was too.
She wanted to be different.
We are now down to the drain commissioner proposed contract renewal. Anything on that, Chet?
No, I don't have any. So Mr. Christensen presented last week.
Anybody have a motion for us on that?
Page 13.
Trying to help.
That's an motion. We're-
Okay, good, let's move on.
Yeah, we gotta find it. It's December.
I will make the motion that we waive our bid policy and approve the as-needed consulting and engineering services agreement for year 2023 for general drain consulting between the county of Leelanau for the Leelanau County Drain Commissioners and GEI Consultants of Michigan PC as presented. Funds to come from account 101.690.275.801.000 pending council review.
Support.
Any discussion? All those in support of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
Motion passes 6-1. We are now down to late edition number 1. Darcy, do you want to speak to that?
Sure.
Thank you.
When this was sent to you, my apologies, I didn't realize that the highlighted part of the email that I received from MERS didn't come through very clearly. But it simply says MERS requires a signature of an authorized representative of the employer to process a service credit purchase, which is what you approved earlier for Leelanau. Currently, an authorized representative is not on record with MERS. So she, Diane Wing from MERS, sent this resolution requesting that we complete this in order to be able to process the service credit purchase. Chet and I discussed this and decided that it was probably the best idea to have Deb Allen, our new administrator, as the authorized signer. I spoke with MERS today. They said this is absolutely 100% acceptable. It does not change the process. Service credit purchases still have to come to you as a board. But then that would authorize the administrator to sign the form.
Yes.
You want a motion before we?
Well, we ought to have a motion and we'll talk about it.
I just want to verify that I was on the call and this request did come from MERS and they checked and maybe they have different people, but we were surprised that they're telling us they have no record of county authorizing someone to do the signature for these documents. So this is actually a request from MERS, because there was some false rumors about that. This truly is a request from MERS. I know we've done this in the past. I don't think we've ever had to present this before, but it could be a numerous policy. We're not sure, but I can verify the fact that this request came from MERS and the document that is presented came from MERS.
Commissioner Lutler.
Yes, so I will make the motion. I would move that Leelanau County Board of Commissioners authorizes the county administrator to Deborah Allen to be the.
You'd want to recommend, you would want to
Thank you.
approve the resolution establishing an authorized signatory.
That's my motion. Yes. Thank you. That's what I was trying to say.
Could I have a second?
I'll second.
Do you have that, Jen? Did you get the motion?
Yes.
Okay.
Just a clarification, do you wish to name the position or the person?
You are technically supposed to name the position according
I
to
thought I almost
the.
hesitated. Yeah, it would be the position.
Yes.
So I would amend my motion to say that, please.
Thank you.
Yes.
Okay with a second? Please. Commissioner Slauson.
And I'm fine with the motion, except I think we should add the Leelanau County Board Chair, because the chair signs. In fact, I think Jen, we have that not too long ago. the
Correct.
board Chair signed. So I think just having, there's no reason not to, and there's a place on the form that says.
You could do two.
We could do two.
So just.
You could do
that way,
and or.
If poor Deb is laid up somewhere and something needs to be signed, you can do it.
I would read that.
Would that be okay with the
Yeah,
motion?
so it would be and or the board chairman, and once again, that would have to have authorization of the full board of
Yes.
commissioners,
Yeah.
correct?
Yes.
So is that okay with MERS?
Yes, yes.
And or is okay?
Well, you have
I told her to add-
your your named position, and then you have optional additional job
Yeah.
So what you're saying is it has to be her and it could also be him.
No.
It could be one or the other.
It could be either or.
Okay.
So we have a motion on the floor. Is there any other? Yes.
I just wanted to make this resolution clear because once you have that initial language about authorizing either or, it's upon approval of the Board of Commissioners. So it's got to be approval of the board first before either one of them can
Exactly.
sign. Okay, perfect.
Yeah, in very simple terms, if the board approves it,
Got
who's
it.
gonna sign the document?
Yeah, I just wanted to make sure that that was clear and it was written that way.
It is a resolution, so we'll need a roll call vote.
Did we get support?
I have support by Rushton, so I rewrote it. Did you want to hear it?
I don't think you got it.
All right, so it'll be Lautner. So roll call, Commissioner Lautner,
Yes.
Commissioner Robbins,
Yes.
Commissioner Rushton,
Yes.
Commissioner Sotis Little,
Yes.
Chairman Wessel,
Yes.
Commissioner Elguyer,
Yes.
Commissioner Bailey.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, we are now down to our administration section, and we must have to start out approval of the Appropriations Act
Yeah.
resolution.
We actually have two items to approve, and I guess we can do it two-way. Mr. Prince can come back up and review the whole book for you if you wish, but I don't think that's an option. I guess he's saying no. But I would prefer first a motion to approve the 2023 budget rules, which is separate from the resolution. The changes in the budget rules, what I'm really grateful that you did is, and this hasn't been changed in terms of dollar amounts since the late 90s, as I understand from what the clerk told me, but according to our budget committee meetings, you approved changing the amount the department head can spend from 2,000 to 4,500, and that's at item 1. And at the very end, you allow the county administrator to spend up to 10,000. It was 5,000, and that's been since the late 90s. So I think it's a positive step. And the reason it's 4,500 is above 5,000 is capital outlay, so we want to keep it under that amount. So you could pass a motion to accept the 2023 fiscal budget rules as presented, and it's in your board packets.
So we have a motion to approve the budget rules by Gwen, seconded by Commissioner Bailey. Any discussion?
Question. Yeah. Okay, is your motion only for the board rules or approval of the fiscal year 2023 appropriation?
That's next.
Just rules.
Just the rules, okay. All right.
Okay, we have a motion. All those in support of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same. Motion approved 7-0.
And then next is the fiscal year 2023 General Appropriation Act resolution, and that is a resolution.
Okay.
And I won't read it, it's the same that you're passing.
Okay, I make the motion. To approve the 2023 Appropriations Act resolution and the 2023 budget. We just did the rules, so the 2023 Act, I used to separate those two, but whatever. These ones done together.
Support.
Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Commissioner Lautner,
Yes.
Commissioner Robbins,
Yes.
Commissioner Rushton,
Yes.
Commissioner Sotis Little,
Yes.
Chairman Wessel,
Yes.
Commissioner Elguyer,
Yes.
Commissioner Bailey.
Yes.
Passes 7-0.
We have a budget.
Next on the agenda, Ms. Allen, you gave us a memo.
Yes. So if you remember, last Tuesday, I gave you a verbal overview in terms of a recommendation for a transition plan. That was day 2 of employment. So now I'm coming back to you with a written recommendation that in essence would be a 90-day plan that's presented here with services up to 120 days, but the last 30 days of that plan is presented to be provided at no charge, and it would be in essence truly a transition or report out for those last 30 days. So the plan as presented discusses 5 key critical projects that the board has previously approved or has identified as important issues. And then the consideration being that there would be a support of effective transition of responsibilities so that there'd be a smooth transition and these issues would continue. I will just point out that from my date of hire to the time when Chet will actually be going on vacation, I will have had 10 business days with him. So this is truly the rationale so that the board will have confidence that I have the ability to continue these projects.
Before we have discussion, could you go through the 5 for the
Certainly.
benefit of the
Certainly.
public?
So the 5 different projects that are being proposed is to support the effective transition of responsibility necessary to coordinate with the engineer firm to develop the design of phase 2 and 3 of the HVAC enhancement project of the government center, and if approved by the county board, which it was earlier this evening, to coordinate the request for proposals, the documents, project timelines, and developing funding option recommendations. Item number 2 was to support the effective transition of responsibilities necessary to manage the health department's environmental health division renovation project with the engineering firm developing the design for the renovation of the lower level of the government center, and if approved by the county board, coordinate the RFP documents, provide project timeline, and developing funding option recommendations. Item number 3, to finalize efforts with the 6 county community mental health restructuring task force to coordinate the listening sessions and make recommendations on revised bylaws, articles of incorporation, and governance model. Number 4, to support the effective transition of responsibilities necessary to coordinate efforts with local governmental officials and the CEC, which is Cherryland Electric Cooperative, representatives to finalize a location, funding partnerships, and options, as well as the development of documents to construct a communications tower in Leelanau Township. And item number 5 is to support the effective transition or responsibilities related to ARPA, the American Rescue Plan Act funding options, including dialogue with state officials to enhance the possibility of acquiring additional funds to support broadband services as well as other potential projects.
We have a proposal, any discussion, any questions? Yes.
So as I understand it, these are major projects in process that Mr. Janik has been working on, and you'd just like him to continue those for the next 2 or 3 months.
It would actually be an opportunity to transition those responsibilities so that there would already be kind of a reporting out and a process established that over the next 90 days that transition would be complete.
Commissioner Rushton.
Yes, my understanding is that you're asking us to allow you to contract for services through this leadership organization. However, you have not brought us a contract. Correct. So where's the contract?
My understanding is that this proposal would be moved forward and then the contract would be written.
Well, how can we approve this without a contract? Because if we approve this today and the contract's forthcoming, that contract can say anything. We should have a contract to review so that we know. I understand that you prefer to have these services. However, as commissioners, we have a responsibility as well to ensure that the contract is going to be fulfilled at a certain rate of pay, or whatever the contract's going to read. There could be other nuances in there that the board may or may not feel comfortable with. So I think we're off to a bad start on this issue. I think we should have full disclosure on this if we're going to proceed.
Let me just address that, because our normal process, just with that, like the engineering or architectural, they put together a proposal, the ballot is with the proposal. If you approve it, it goes to legal counsel, and the contract is approved pending legal review and signed by the board chair. So it'll be the same process.
Commissioner Robbins.
Thank you.
questions here. To the administrator, have you had meetings with, we have some great people, employees that work here. I mean, if you break these down, all 5 of them, you had meetings with elected people, department heads, some of our expert people that work in here that may be able to assist you with these without paying outside money.
Several of these projects in terms of meeting with several individuals, recently participated with the emergency 911. Understand that there are meetings this week to continue these conversations. So some of these, admittedly, there are meetings coming up, or I may not have had the opportunity to have meetings with individuals at this point just because of my hire date. So I think the thing I'd like to share too is this is up to, if I can get up to speed quicker on some of these items, which is certainly my intent. We may not need the full term of this. The terms as outlined here, $65 per hour plus mileage not to exceed $2,500 per month. And that's for the month of January, February, and March.
Okay.
So if I can get up to speed quicker, that would certainly be.
No,
the
I
intent.
respect you for that, but I guess I want to get the most for our buck. You know, $65, if we can do it in-house. We have people of some of these, maybe we can, maybe we're going to have to go outside, but maybe we only have to go outside for 2. I mean, you know, we got our 911 people. I mean, I look at this on our HVAC. I mean, we got a commissioner that's coming on that has a background that's pretty in construction. I mean, maybe you ought to sit down with him at some point. And, you know, I say I'm not against going outside, but let's narrow this down. Maybe we got people inside. Because I look at this and we're going to contract to an outside agency. Is that one person going to be an expert in all 5 fields here? I mean, you're going from construction to mental health to, you know, to the American Relief Plan, to building towers. I just don't feel you're going to get one person that's going to be expert in all 5 of those fields. I think I'm all for this, but for this concept here, but I think it needs to be decide and let the next board decide what they want to do.
Commissioner Lautner?
Okay, well, now I want to get a deeper understanding. My understanding is that, Deborah, do you plan on having a contract that would be Chet to come back and do these things in transition, or would this be somebody else?
It's certainly from the standpoint of the continuity that the recommendation with the Michigan Leadership Institute, with the understanding that Chet is making that transition.
Okay, that's what I thought. Well, I was surprised to have this come before us last week, and you know, my first instinct was absolutely no, and I still feel like I'm absolutely no on this. I'm disappointed this is in front of us. And I'm not going to support a transition. I think that these say these are 5 crucial board approved projects, but I don't see these as really crucial. I think that Commissioner Robbins has a very good point. You know, why don't we just slow down, let you get on your feet? If you still don't feel like there's any of these you can't handle come, say March, or you need support on, we will get you the support you need. That is the way I would prefer to go forward with this. But I think you're extremely bright. I think you're extremely capable to manage these projects. And I want to give you an opportunity to do that first before I would go outside and hire assistants for you.
Thank you, Commissioner Soslow.
Yes, what our new administrator is asking is not unusual. She's been for 10 days. These are projects that have been in the works and they're all coming to fruition. fairly soon, in the first part of the year, fairly soon in the first part of the year. ARPA funds are going to start moving the HVAC, we need the design of 2 and 3, and I could go through each of these. So what we're saying is, it has nothing to do with our new administrator's capabilities. Could she drop everything and spend nothing but concentrating on this to get up to speed? Sure. But what happens with the rest of her responsibilities and moving in and in an orderly way, trying to begin to have a flow of work that makes sense? And so I think that this is something that will help. And I think it's something she's already said that it's as long as needed, she expects to come up to speed quickly. It may not be for 60 days or 90 days, it might be just 30 days. We don't know. But the point is, I want to see the county be successful. I want to see our new administrator be successful. Our immediately past administrator has worked on all of these. So he is familiar with all of these. He's been following them, and he can help bring about their completion or bring them to a point where she can step in and complete them quickly. Frankly, the rate is great.
Thank you. I'd like to speak to it, and I think most organizations, when they bring in new CEOs, new executive officers, prepare a transitional plan for that person to make sure that they're successful. And I don't see this proposal in the way of extending that contract. He's done in 2 weeks.
December 30th.
But I see this as an opportunity to provide the support that our new administrator needs, and I certainly will support it. And consulting services are not something new to this proposal. We do it all the time. And neither are transitional plans. We do it all the time. When we brought in a new court administrator, we had a new court administrator and the old court administrator work together. When we bring in a new sheriff's officer, a deputy, we assign them to a mentor, and we pay that mentor extra to mentor them. And this makes sense to me, and I certainly support it. Any other conversation? Yes.
You have a wealth of institutional knowledge and you should not lose it. So this would be a great way to gather it into your head. Yes.
If we have a motion, it would be pending legal review of a
Well, the
final
normal
contract.
process, you approve the proposal, you sign the legal counsel, they draft the contract, then the board of the chairman's authorized to sign.
Any questions?
There's no motion.
There's not a motion.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah, we have a motion.
I how we did too.
Commissioner Rushton?
Do we have a motion?
Why can't we get a contract, have legal review it and take this motion up at the next board meeting before the end of the year? Because that way then we know what the contract says, we know what the payment is, we know what the timeline is, we have specific requirements. She knows what she's gonna get, he knows what he's gonna give, and we know what it's gonna cost. That way we have a contract in hand, we have it approved by our legal, and that can be, it's the day before his resignation, so it's not about, the timing would be great.
I appreciate what you're saying, but I think why deviate from what we've done in the past? So I'm going to move that we approve the administrator's 90-day special.
To 120 days.
The administrator's special.
No, you want to enter into an agreement with Michigan Leadership Institute.
Thank you. That's what I want to do. Thank you. Into it. Oh, there we go.
Thank you.
All
Said
right,
90
that's okay.
days.
Thank you. All right.
That's gonna be the details.
That we enter into an agreement with Michigan Leadership Institute to provide up to 120 days of consulting support to Leelanau County administrators and establish board committees to transition accountability of the 5 board of commissioner approved projects. Support.
Pending
legal review.
Pending legal review. Support.
Any further conversation necessary? Any discussion? Any questions? Would you take a roll call vote on this, please, Jen?
Using the phone machine. Commissioner Sotomayor?
Yes.
Chairman Wessel?
Yes.
Commissioner Eldar?
Yes.
Commissioner Bailey?
Yes.
Commissioner Lautner?
No,
Commissioner Robbins?
Yes.
Commissioner Rushton?
I'm voting no because I wish we would have had the contract first.
5-2.
Thank you. And thank you. We now are at review of financials. Any questions for Jared? Jared, this is your last time doing this with us.
As far as I know, I do have some stuff.
Look at that smile on his face.
That wasn't the reason why. Just some budget amendments and transfers that I had.
Are these good?
I hope so.
Yeah, me too.
So Jared,
Yes.
and we claims and accounts, I think it's page 7, we have a certification for mass for Sutton Day at Munson Medical Center. And what is that? Why would, is it Sutton's Bay EMS, and why would we pay for the certification? Is that
Training? Is that what you're,
blood draws for the prisoners when we request
do you remember the vendor? Sorry.
Munson Medical was the vendor.
Munson Medical.
Page 7.
Yes, I do see that.
I know they will come into the jail and do blood draws for us. I request that it be paid them as well. I just want to know if that's better.
So we had 3. Munson Medical.
Okay.
Oh. Was it, wait, was it the one for $161? Different.
Yeah, I didn't write down the total. It was $161, so
This was a CPR recertification.
CPR recertification. So blood draws, I understand, because that's what this one is. Blood draws, I would understand, but why would we pay for the recertification?
For the training.
Yeah, are we doing just blood draws then, or? Yeah, math education for 161. Okay, that explains that. Yes, thank you. I just want to make sure that was what it was. That was the only question I had.
Are you looking that up? Or did you get your question?
I did, thank you.
Any other questions? We're not addressing this now, right?
Right, unless you want, I mean, I can talk about it a little
We'll leave
bit.
these and put them forth the 30th.
Okay.
One question on that, the handwritten on there, what, can you tell us what that is?
Sure, that's, anything that's handwritten is what I come up with. So this will go up to the front for which counts. Anything that's highlighted is what would be changed. So this is actually multiple pages for a fund, and I highlighted which ones are going to change. Right up here, you have the budget, what was already approved and what's been spent. So if we've overspent, or if I projected that we were going to overspend on a certain line, then I was changing that line. What is handwritten on there is the actual count, and then the amount that I'm changing it by. And that'll go with what's up here in front.
Does everybody know what we have here to bring to the? Better give us. a
Sure.
little bit of-
So what we got here, just a regular budget amendments. These are only for the special revenue funds. And what we are actually changing the budget by. This is not actual spending, just to make sure that we do not go over budget in these funds for what we have for our expenditures. So as I went through, normally you get a budgetary status report when we send out the post audit. That's only for our general fund though. These that are all behind all these budget amendments are for our special revenue funds. So they actually have revenues and expenditures coming in. A lot of these are just using their fund balance forward to cover any overspending that we projected. So that means no outside sources of funds coming in, just what they had built up as a surplus in prior years. There were only two that I had that we're actually going to have a transfer in. One of that is maintenance. As you know, a lot of things have cost more this year.
Natural gas.
Exactly. Any gas and fuel, a lot of it is repairs and maintenance stuff that is definitely costing us a lot more this year. So transfer in for them from the general fund. The other was the insurance fund. Last year we had spent, I have it here actually. So
Health insurance, or are you talking about?
yeah, so like Blue Cross Blue Shield, yep. So last year in 21, the insurance was about 915,000. Stop loss premium fee was about 850,000. In the budget for 22, I had about, well, there was about 725,000 for the insurance. So last year we spent about 200,000 more than what we had budgeted for. So this year, it looks like we're gonna spend like we did in 21, so I had to increase the budgeted amount, which means a transfer in from general fund to cover that. Now, they did have 167,000 in fund balance, so they will dip into some of that too. But so it doesn't go into the negative, I have a transfer coming in. All of that comes from contingency, so we're not changing budgeted expenditures for the general fund right now.
Everybody got that? We'll
Okay,
be bringing these to our late December meeting. Patricia?
No, this is just a very different way of receiving these, so I'm gonna take some practice.
Just remind December 30th at 10 a.m. We haven't done the meeting notes yet because it's a special meeting and we're still looking at the agenda. There's some things we have to add. And a special meeting, we can't have any late additions. So we're waiting to clarify stuff with some other departments to see it. But I'm hoping by the end of this week, first part of next week, we'll have the agenda set for the 30th. So it'll still be 10 o'clock. It'll be the budget transfer adjustment and maybe some potential other end of the year issues.
If we have questions before then, as we get a chance to go through this, who do we?
You can ask me.
Okay.
Or if you want to email to Deb, we can get you an answer.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thanks.
So they're simple questions, but it's all of you should know, if you email Deb, then she can respond to all of you, so you all have that information, which I think is important. We'll make that meeting on the 30th, maybe a little shorter.
Hey, thank you. Thank you, George. We're now down at committee reports, recommendations, and resolutions. And do we have any of those? Any committee reports? I think I have the opportunity to do something that I don't really want to do, but I have 4 certificates that are here for 4 people that are leaving the commission. And we're going to give each of you one and let you know that we're going to miss each and every one of you. But also invite you to talk about your high points and your low points as you've served your stint as commissioner. And maybe you could conclude by next phase of your life. So we'll start here with, if I can open it. We'll start with Commissioner Rick Robbins. Anything to report?
Oh, man, we don't have enough time. First of all, I want to thank everybody. It's been a great fun 2 years. My skin got a little thicker. I want to thank everybody that shows up to these meetings because like I said a long time ago, you fill this room, that's when you probably build the best. I want to start with Deb. I wish you the best of luck. Hang in there. You're going to do it. Chet, I want to thank you. 10 years that you've given the county. Ty, been great. Gonna miss you. Your chair come January. Gwen, hang in there. Lois, it's been great, short time, but I know you're gonna do what's best for housing. Patricia, it's been great for you, working with you, and I wish the best for you and Robert. Linda, it's been great working with you. See how many more terms you get. Hopefully you leave before you have to come in here with a Migo, but hang in there. Deb, it's been great with you. You two have been like my older sisters. I wish the best for you and Gary.
Be careful.
All right, Ann, okay. No, high points, I don't know. There's been so many of them. I mean, we got the recycling here. You know, a year ago, we saved early childhood development. The list goes on. Septic ordinance, whether some we agree with or not, we have it. What else we got? I mean, it just goes on. We've been great with the budget. You know, I know for some of you, maybe not what you wanted to see, but it needed to be done on the HR and finance. I've never told the whole story why. If you want to sit down one-on-one, I have with a lot of people, and when I talk to them, they understand why we're moving forward. In the end, I think to me, it is going to be the best for the county. Low points, I can't really say what.
You better not forget housing.
Oh, no, I'm working on it.
Okay.
What office are you running for?
I'm not running for anything. But no, low points, I can't really say there was any. I mean, got stressful at time. High points, I'm probably gonna get in trouble for the next comment I'm gonna make. The high point actually happened, I'm a little emotional over the weekend because of my dad's funeral, but the high point would be, as a commissioner, was February 28th. Sitting here for a meeting and saw this beautiful young lady where she's sitting tonight, and she's changed my future. So that's my high point. I mean, if it wasn't for being a commissioner, I wouldn't have met her. So thank you.
Join me in a round of applause. Commissioner Deb Rushton.
Yes,
you're
sir.
next.
I'm next. And I'm gonna be short and brief, and I'll say it right off right here with holding my wonderful chairman's hand. It was a pleasure when I started, and it's a pleasure when I'm ending. Thank you to everybody. I wish you all well and happy holidays.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And Commissioner Patricia. Let us know. There you go. Thank you.
I'm going to adhere to the short and sweet, but I do want to thank everyone. It's been an incredible honor to serve these 8 years. I feel like I'm leaving in incredibly talented hands with Cameron Ross, so I feel really good about departing at this point in time. But I also want to acknowledge we have one of the most talented, exceptional staff who rarely get acknowledgement. They're the grease that makes the wheels turn, and they do all of the things that we get credit for. So thank you so much to our staff and everything that they have done. And thank you to this wonderful board. It's been a pleasure working with you. Jim already said I will miss you. I will be missing everyone, but thank you so much. It's been a pleasure, and good luck in the new year. Thank you, Chet. So many of the things we've accomplished, you've been out there leading the way and making it possible. Without you, a lot of it wouldn't have happened. So thanks to everybody. Good luck to you, although Deborah Allen, you won't need the luck. I know you're gonna sell like your. So
Thank
take
you.
care.
And Commissioner Lois Bailey.
Oh, my.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Russell. Well, anyway, it was a short run. It was interesting. I think I'm gonna go to that orientation because I want to know what I didn't get when I started, because it came to the first meeting and I felt like such a fish out of water. You're wondering, what? How did you get here? How did I get here? So the septic ordinance was definitely a high point. You know, after struggling with that for 30 years, we got it done. And I think there's still more to do. And I'll be in the cheap seats and watching what happens next. Thanks.
Thank you.
I'll stand up, give all four of them a round. of applause.
We are now to special reports by staff or commissioners. Anything?
Merry
We're-
Christmas, everybody.
It's not your turn to say that. That's not a special
Well,
report.
that's not a special report.
It is now time for public comment. And then you get to make your. Does anybody like to make, yes, Mr. Bukowski.
Good evening again. I want to thank this commission for 2 years for taking care of the mandated and essential items of your duties. Two of the items that were worked on, the clerk changes in duties and the septic ordinance were non-essential at this time. And I listened to the list of things that are still hanging out there. And as was mentioned, that if these two things had not been addressed, a lot of other things could have been handled much better. That's my observation on this. And one of the comments I'm trying to make is the evaluating positions. I think we missed the boat. We should have done that, as you said, a long time ago. And we decided to get onto some other wagon or some other horse that took us elsewhere, or two horses. And that was, I think, a mistake. The determination for salaries, who applies with a PhD or for a dishwasher doesn't make any difference. But I don't know how this is handled here, but for non-mandated and non-essential services and departments, does that take a priority of a higher salary than the mandated and unmandated? Think about that. So also, I heard the discussion about budgets, and I'm kind of intrigued by the continual budget planning of always using 10% of the budget out of the fund balance every year. In the private sector, I never enjoyed that luxury. So that's a message in that. I don't know what it is, but I'll let you commissioners figure that one out. But that is a little bit bothersome to me. The other question I have is, do all counties budget this way? With a plus or minus 10% loose cannon. I'm just saying this in a unique way, but it's interesting to watch these things. It's a lot easier sitting out here than up there, I can tell you. So I want to thank you again for all the hard work you've done. We want to keep you all on track and focus on and prioritize on just a few key things and stay in there with us. Do not give us any more millages that are improperly put together and people get them foisted on them. I'm talking about early childhood. The farmland preservation thing was defeated, and senior citizens. The people did not lawfully petition you for that. And if they don't petition you for it, you should not be addressing it. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions?
Just quickly, I want to say thank you to the four of you who are leaving, that it doesn't matter which party you're a part of. It's a hard job that you do. And and I haven't been here as much as some others, but it's a hard job. You put everything into it and your best ideas. And I think the citizens are appreciative of that. And whether we agree with you or not, it's still a job that you do, but you do very well. And to Mr. Janet, same thing. So thank you.
Thank you. Any other? Commissioner comments? Yes, Mr. Evans?
I forgot to add earlier, just kind of caught me off guard. I was ready for commissioner comment. Presentation. First of all, I want to wish the best of luck to all of the next year's board. The new people coming in. Wish you the best of luck. One thing I want to touch on that was not written, Enterprise the day after election. I did talk to the Leelanau Enterprise, and I did congratulate Jamie Kramer. She is going to be my commissioner, and I'm going to back her. And for some reason, that wasn't printed, so I'm behind her 100%. Just like the next board, I want to be behind you. So I wish you the best of luck.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chuck Janet, for a long ride. I'm very excited about your hikes. I want to hear about them. It's been a tough ride the last couple of years. And I'm always glad when somebody gets to start a new, fun, exciting chapter. And I'm excited to see what you do. Welcome.
I just wanted to say thank you to Sam Getzinger for your kind comments. Thanks to all of you for showing up and for all the goodwill you've shown to us. I mean, it's amazing to have so many people here sitting through our long meetings, which are getting a little shorter, which is good. And to the next board, and you in the audience. I know that you will enjoy this as much as we have. It's a really exciting position, and I think, working with the community, there's just nothing like it, and trying to help people achieve what they need. So good luck to all of you. And now I'll get to be out there and monitor how well you do it.
Thank you. Yes.
Yeah, and parting words for the new board to come in. And I am a firm believer that we have to determine what our personal principles are, and we have to stand by those, whether we sit in the audience or sit on the bench. I call this the bench. Honesty is your best policy. We know when new commissioners come in, there's a learning curve. I'm sure the community expects a learning curve. But who you are, and I guess what I'm saying is honesty and truth is your best policy. And good luck. We'll be watching.
Thank you. Anybody else? Well, I want to thank the six of you for allowing me to fumble through some of our meetings as I learned how to use the gavel a little bit. Thank you. And we're going to miss the four of you disagreeing and disagreeing with the four of you, but it's been good working with you. So thank you. And thanks to everybody here that comes and gives us input and keeps us on target. So thank you and Merry Christmas. Happy holidays. We're now down to approval of financials.
I would move we accept claims and accounts $167,986.86.
Second.
All those in support, say aye.
Aye.
Motion approved, 7-0.
I move to approve the post audit, $2,438,493.63.
Second.
All those in support, say aye.
Aye.
Motion approved, 7-0. Before our adjournment, let me thank Linda for always having those numbers and being prepared to do that.
Good job. And with that said, Mr. Chairman, I would move to adjourn.
Thank you.
That's her job.